Imagine hating your own brother so much that you would push him from a building. All for money. That's what Samuel did. Chief Okafor was one of the richest men in the city. His company built houses, sold land, and owned many shares in other big companies. People respected him because he worked very hard for many years. He had 2 sons, Obinna and Samuel. They had different mothers, but both mothers had died when the boys were young. Obinna was the first son. He was calm, patient, and kind. He spoke gently to everyone, even to workers and guards. When people had problems, Obinna tried to help them. Samuel was very different. He loved expensive cars, parties, and fame. He wanted people to fear him. Samuel believed only one thing: he was the true heir to his father's wealth. Because of this belief, the 2 brothers rarely spoke to each other. Chief Okafor was deeply worried about them. One evening, the family sat in the large dining hall. The long table was filled with food, but the air felt heavy. Samuel suddenly dropped his spoon loudly. "Father," he said, staring at Obinna, "everyone knows I am the one who deserves your company." Obinna stayed quiet. Chief Okafor frowned. "What are you talking about?" Samuel leaned forward. "I am the stronger son. I understand business. I live like a real rich man. Not like him." He pointed at Obinna. Obinna simply continued eating. Chief Okafor sighed. "Being rich is not about showing off. It is about responsibility." Samuel laughed loudly. "Responsibility. He is weak." Obinna slowly looked up. "Brother," he said calmly, "we are both your father's sons. There is no need for fighting." Samuel's eyes burned with anger. That night, Samuel decided something dangerous. If Obinna disappeared, everything would belong to him. The next week, Samuel invited Obinna to inspect a new construction site owned by their father's company. Obinna agreed, not knowing what Samuel planned. The building was still under construction. The top floors had no railings yet. Workers moved around carrying heavy materials. Samuel and Obinna walked to the highest floor. Samuel spoke calmly. "Look at the view." Obinna stepped closer to the edge. At that moment, Samuel suddenly pushed him. Obinna lost balance and fell. But as he fell, he grabbed the hanging rope used by workers. His body swung against the building wall. Workers screamed below. 2 workers quickly pulled him up. Samuel pretended to be shocked. "Obinna, I tried to save you," he shouted. But one worker had seen the push. He stared at Samuel in fear. Obinna stood up slowly. His hands were shaking. But he looked at Samuel and simply said, "Thank you for bringing me here, brother." Samuel was confused. Obinna said nothing else. But the worker later told Chief Okafor what he saw. That night, Chief Okafor sat alone in his office for hours. His heart felt heavy. A few days later, Samuel created another plan. This time it was even more dangerous. He knew Obinna always inspected company trucks before large deliveries. Samuel secretly paid a mechanic to damage the brakes of one of the trucks. The truck was scheduled for inspection the next morning. If Obinna drove it, the brakes would fail on the steep road outside the company gate. Samuel watched from his car as Obinna approached the truck. Obinna greeted the driver kindly. "I will test it first," Obinna said. He started the truck and drove out of the gate. The road sloped downward. After a few seconds, Obinna pressed the brake. Nothing happened. The truck began speeding down the hill. Drivers on the road started shouting. Obinna tried again. Still nothing. The truck rushed toward a busy intersection. Obinna quickly turned the steering wheel and crashed the truck into a sand pile near a construction site. The front of the truck was destroyed. Obinna climbed out slowly with cuts on his arms. People ran toward him. Samuel watched everything from his car. His hands were shaking. Even after 2 deadly attempts, Obinna was still alive. Later that evening, Chief Okafor called Samuel into his office. His voice was very serious. "Did you touch that truck?" Samuel forced a smile. No, father. Chief Okafor stared at him for a long moment. Then he said quietly, greed can destroy a family. Samuel walked away angrily. But inside his heart, his hatred had only grown stronger. He believed there was only one way left. One final act. One that would remove Obinna forever. Samuel planned something so dangerous that it could destroy the entire family. And he did not care anymore. Obinna, however, continued living peacefully, unaware that the greatest danger had not yet happened. The anger inside Samuel had now grown stronger than ever. Two terrible plans had failed. Obinna was still alive, calm and kind as always. This made Samuel even more frustrated. He could not understand why Obinna never fought back. Obinna continued working hard in the company. He spoke kindly to the workers and made sure everyone was treated fairly. Many people respected him because of his gentle heart. Samuel did not like this at all. He wanted people to fear him, not respect Obinna. One evening, Samuel sat inside his expensive car outside a large nightclub. Loud music played from inside the building, but Samuel's mind was not on the music. He was thinking about his final plan. This time, he whispered to himself, Obinna will not escape. The next day Samuel visited a group of dangerous men. These men were known for doing illegal jobs for money. Samuel gave them a large amount of cash. I only want you to scare someone, Samuel told them. The leader of the group looked at him carefully. Who? Samuel slowly showed them Obinna's photo. Kidnap him, Samuel said. Make it look real. I will come later and act like the hero. But Samuel had another secret plan. He had told the men privately that if Obinna resisted, they could do anything they wanted. That evening, Obinna finished work late. As he walked toward his car in the company parking lot, a black van suddenly stopped beside him. 4 men jumped out. Before Obinna could react, they forced him into the van. The van sped away into the dark road. Inside the van, Obinna stayed calm. He spoke quietly to the men. If you need money, I will help you. Please don't hurt anyone. The men looked at each other. They had expected him to scream or fight. But he remained peaceful. Meanwhile, Samuel pretended to receive a phone call. He rushed to his father's house. Father! Samuel shouted. Chief Okafor came out quickly. What is wrong? Obinna has been kidnapped. Chief Okafor's face turned pale. What? Samuel continued acting. I heard some criminals took him. We must go and save him. Chief Okafor quickly grabbed his car keys. They drove through the night following the fake location Samuel had given. But something unexpected happened. Inside the van, one of the kidnappers suddenly recognized Obinna. You are Chief Okafor's son, right? The man asked. Obinna nodded. The man looked uncomfortable. My sister works in your company, he said. You once helped her when she was sick? Obinna remembered. He had paid for her hospital bill. The kidnappers began whispering among themselves. Slowly, their anger disappeared. Finally, the leader sighed. We cannot hurt you, he said. They stopped the van and released Obinna on a quiet road. At that moment, Samuel and Chief Okafor arrived. Samuel acted surprised. Obinna. Chief Okafor ran toward him and hugged him tightly. My son, are you hurt? Obinna shook his head. I am fine, father. But the leader of the kidnappers suddenly walked forward and spoke. We must tell the truth. Samuel froze. The man pointed directly at Samuel. He paid us to kidnap your son. The night became silent. Chief Okafor slowly turned to Samuel. His face showed deep pain. Is this true? He asked. Samuel began to panic. It's a lie, he shouted. But the kidnappers showed the money Samuel had given them. Chief Okafor's hands began shaking. His breathing became heavy. You tried to destroy your own brother, he said. Samuel shouted angrily, he stole everything from me. Chief Okafor clutched his chest. His heart was beating painfully. Obinna rushed forward. "Father." But Chief Okafor suddenly collapsed. Samuel stood frozen. The kidnappers looked terrified. Obinna quickly carried his father into the car and drove to the hospital as fast as he could. Doctors rushed Chief Okafor into the emergency room. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, a doctor came out slowly. He looked at the two brothers. "I'm sorry," the doctor said. His heart could not survive the shock. Chief Okafor was gone. The hallway became silent. Obinna lowered his head in deep sadness. Samuel felt his legs grow weak. He had only wanted the company. He never wanted his father to die. But the damage had already been done. A few days later, the family lawyer called both brothers to his office. They sat quietly in front of him. The lawyer opened a sealed envelope. "This is Chief Okafor's final will." Samuel leaned forward eagerly. The lawyer began reading. "To my first son, Obinna, I leave my company and the majority of my shares." Samuel's face changed immediately. The lawyer continued. "To my second son, Samuel, I leave one share that I own in my friend Mr. Adewale's company." Samuel stood up suddenly. "One share?" The lawyer nodded. "Yes." Samuel could not believe it. One share was nothing compared to the life he was living. The room felt cold and quiet. Samuel finally understood something terrible. All his anger, all his plans, all the pain he caused, had only destroyed his own future and his father's life. The days after Chief Okafor's burial were very quiet. Many people came to mourn him. Workers from his company cried because they respected him. Business partners spoke about his hard work and discipline. Obinna stood calmly beside the grave during the burial. His eyes were full of sadness, but he stayed strong. Losing his father was very painful. Samuel also stood there, but his heart was filled with something heavier than sadness. It was a regret. He kept remembering the moment his father collapsed. That moment kept playing again and again in his mind. If he had never made those terrible plans, his father might still be alive. But it was too late. After the burial, Obinna returned to the company and began handling the responsibilities his father left behind. The workers welcomed him warmly. They trusted him. Samuel, however, continued living in his large mansion. He still drove expensive cars and attended parties. But slowly, problems began to appear. Bills started arriving. Luxury cars required expensive maintenance. His parties cost huge amounts of money. The house staff needed salaries. Samuel suddenly realized something frightening. He had no real source of income. The one share his father left him brought almost nothing. One evening, Samuel visited the company office, hoping to demand money. He walked into Obinna's office confidently. Obinna looked up from his desk. "Samuel," he said calmly. Samuel crossed his arms. "I need money." Obinna looked surprised. "For what?" "For my lifestyle. I cannot live like a poor man." Obinna remained quiet for a moment. Then he said gently, "Father left you something." Samuel slammed his hand on the table. "One useless share." Obinna sighed. "Samuel, Father wanted you to learn something." Samuel laughed angrily. "I don't need lessons. I need money." Obinna looked at him carefully. "You could work here." Samuel stared at him in disbelief. "Work? In my father's company?" "Our father's company," Obinna corrected calmly. Samuel shook his head with anger. "I will never work under you." He stormed out of the office. But the problems continued growing. A few weeks later, Samuel's bank account began running dry. Creditors started calling him. His expensive car was taken away because he could not complete the payments. Then another car was taken. Soon, even the mansion became difficult to maintain. Samuel tried borrowing money from friends. But many of them had only been around him for his wealth. Now they avoided him. One night, Samuel sat alone inside the huge living room of his mansion. The lights were off. The room felt empty and cold. For the first time in his life, Samuel felt completely alone. He remembered the times Obinna had tried to speak peacefully with him. He remembered pushing him from the building. He remembered the damaged truck. He remembered the kidnapping plan. Samuel covered his face with his hands. Tears slowly ran down his cheeks. "I destroyed everything," he whispered. Meanwhile, Obinna continued managing the company responsibly. He improved the workers' conditions and expanded the business carefully. Many people admired his leadership. But inside his heart, he still cared about Samuel. Even after everything that had happened. One afternoon, Obinna visited Samuel's mansion. He knocked on the door. Samuel opened it slowly. He looked tired. His clothes were simple now. For a moment, the two brothers simply stared at each other. Samuel spoke quietly. "Why are you here?" Obinna answered calmly. "You are my brother." Samuel looked down. "I tried to kill you." Obinna nodded. "Yes." Samuel expected anger. But Obinna's voice remained gentle. "You cannot change the past, Samuel. But you can change who you become." Samuel felt his throat tighten. No one had spoken to him like this before. Obinna continued. "If you are ready to change, there is still a place for you." Samuel looked up slowly. "A place?" Obinna nodded. "In the company." Samuel felt confused. "You would trust me after everything?" Obinna answered quietly. "I believe people can become better if they truly want to." Samuel did not know what to say. For the first time, he felt a small spark of hope inside his heart. But becoming a better man would not be easy. The next morning, Samuel woke up earlier than he had in many years. He sat on the edge of his bed thinking about Obinna's words. "You can change who you become." Those words stayed in his mind all night. Samuel looked around the large bedroom. It once felt like a palace. Now it only reminded him of the life he was losing. Slowly, he stood up and got dressed. For the first time in his life, he wore simple clothes instead of expensive suits. Then he drove to the company. When Samuel arrived at the company gate, the security guard looked surprised. "Good morning, sir," the guard said carefully. Samuel nodded quietly. Inside the building, workers whispered when they saw him. Many of them remembered the terrible conflict between the brothers. Samuel walked straight to Obinna's office. Obinna looked up and smiled gently. "You came." Samuel took a deep breath. "I want to work." Obinna nodded. "Good. But there will be rules." Samuel listened carefully. "You will start from the lowest position. No special treatment." Samuel hesitated for a moment. But then he nodded. "I accept." Obinna called the operations manager and gave instructions. That same day, Samuel started working in the warehouse. His job was simple but tiring. He helped carry building materials, arrange supplies, and recorded deliveries. The work was hard. His hands became rough. His back ached. Some workers laughed quietly when they saw him struggling. "Look at the rich boy now," one worker whispered. Samuel heard the words, but he said nothing. Each evening he returned home exhausted. But something strange began happening. Samuel slowly started understanding how the company truly worked. He saw how hard the workers labored every day. He saw the effort required to run a business honestly. For the first time, Samuel began respecting the people around him. One afternoon, while working in the warehouse, Samuel overheard two drivers talking. "Did you hear about the supplier problem?" one driver said. "The cement delivery?" the other asked. "Yes. The supplier is planning to cheat the company with low-quality materials." Samuel listened carefully. This was serious. Low-quality cement could make buildings weak and dangerous. That evening Samuel walked into Obinna's office. Obinna looked surprised. "Yes, Samuel." Samuel spoke seriously. I heard something today. Our cement supplier may be sending bad materials. Obinna sat up straight. Are you sure? Samuel nodded. I heard the drivers discussing it. Obinna immediately called the quality inspection team. The next day, they tested the cement from the new delivery. The results shocked everyone. The cement quality was far below the required standard. If it had been used, several buildings could have become unsafe. Obinna quickly cancelled the supplier's contract. The company avoided a huge disaster. Later that evening, Obinna called Samuel into his office. You helped protect the company today, Obinna said. Samuel looked surprised. I was just telling the truth. Obinna smiled slightly. Sometimes the truth is the most valuable thing. For the first time in many years, Samuel felt proud of something honest he had done. But the peace did not last long. A few weeks later, a much bigger problem appeared. A powerful business competitor began attacking Chief Okafor's company. This competitor wanted to destroy the business and take over their projects. They started spreading false rumors about the company. Some investors became nervous. Some clients cancelled contracts. Within days, the company faced one of the biggest crises in its history. Workers feared losing their jobs. Managers worried about the future. Obinna worked day and night trying to protect the company. Samuel watched everything carefully. For the first time, he truly understood how much responsibility his father had carried. And now, he wanted to help. But the coming days would bring a challenge so serious that both brothers would have to stand together. Only then would Samuel truly prove whether he had become a different man. The crisis inside the company continued to grow. Every day new problems appear. Investors called the office asking questions. Some clients cancelled their building contracts because of the rumors spreading in the city. The competitor company was powerful and very aggressive. Their goal was simple: destroy Chief Okafor's company and take control of its projects. Inside the company building, workers looked worried. Many of them had families who depended on their salaries. Obinna worked day and night trying to solve the situation. He held meetings with managers and lawyers, searching for a solution. Samuel watched everything carefully from the warehouse and from the office hallways. He saw the pressure on his brother's face. One afternoon Samuel overheard something troubling again. Two delivery supervisors were speaking quietly. The competitor company is bribing some of our suppliers, one said. Yes, the other replied. They want our project to stop so clients lose trust in us. Samuel felt a heavy feeling in his chest. He began thinking deeply. Later that evening, Samuel went to see Obinna. Brother, Samuel said, standing in the doorway. Obinna looked tired but calm. Yes, Samuel. Samuel explained what he had heard. Obinna listened carefully. That confirms what we suspected, Obinna said. But we still need proof. Samuel stood quietly for a moment. Then he said something surprising. I can get that proof. Obinna raised his eyebrows. How? Samuel spoke slowly. The competitor company thinks I still hate you. They think I want the company to fail. Obinna understood immediately. You want to pretend to help them? Samuel nodded. Samuel nodded. I will act like I want revenge against you. Obinna thought carefully. This plan was very dangerous. If they discover the truth, they could harm you, Obinna warned. Samuel nodded again. I know. For a long moment, the brothers looked at each other. Finally Obinna said quietly, be careful. The next day Samuel visited the office of the rival company. The manager of the rival company looked surprised to see him. Samuel Okafor, the man said with a smile. What brings you here? Samuel forced a bitter expression. I want to talk about business. They sat inside a private office. Samuel pretended to be angry. My brother controls the company now. He treated me like nothing. The manager leaned forward with interest. Samuel continued acting. I want revenge. The manager smiled slowly. That is something we understand very well. Over the next several days, Samuel visited the rival company many times. They believed his story. Slowly they began sharing their plans with him. They spoke about bribing suppliers, spreading rumors, and stealing clients. Each time Samuel secretly recorded their conversations using his phone. But one evening, something unexpected happened. As Samuel prepared to leave the rival office, two security men stopped him. "Wait," one of them said. Samuel felt his heart beat faster. The rival manager walked toward him slowly. "I hope you are not playing games with us," the manager said calmly. Samuel forced himself to stay relaxed. "Why would I?" Samuel asked. The manager stared at him carefully. Then he suddenly grabbed Samuel's phone. Samuel felt panic inside his chest. The manager looked through the phone. For several seconds, the room was silent. Finally the manager returned the phone. "Just checking," he said. Samuel nodded and walked out slowly. Only when he reached his car did he breathe deeply again. That night Samuel brought the recordings to Obinna. Obinna listened to them carefully. Obinna looked at him for a moment. "You have worked in the warehouse for several months now," Obinna said. Samuel nodded. "I have learned a lot," he replied honestly. Obinna smiled slightly. "Good. Because today I want to give you a new responsibility." Samuel looked surprised. "What kind of responsibility?" Obinna leaned forward. "I want you to become the assistant operations manager." Samuel froze for a moment. "Me?" "Yes," Obinna said calmly. Samuel shook his head slowly. "Are you sure about this?" "After everything I did." Obinna nodded. "You have proven that people can change." Samuel felt his throat tighten. For years he had chased power and wealth through anger and jealousy. Now, when someone finally trusted him, it felt different. He accepted the position quietly. From that day, Samuel began learning how to manage projects, workers, and suppliers. It was difficult at first, but he worked hard. Weeks passed. Months passed. Samuel slowly became a responsible leader inside the company. One evening, after work, the two brothers sat together in Obinna's office. The sun was setting outside the window. Samuel looked thoughtful. "Brother," he said quietly. Obinna looked up. "Yes." Samuel spoke slowly. "I think about our father every day." Obinna nodded gently. "So do I." Samuel looked down at his hands. "I wish I had understood him earlier." Obinna remained silent for a moment. Then he said something meaningful. "Father knew something about people." Samuel looked up. "What?" "He knew people can learn the hard way." Samuel thought about this deeply. A few days later, the company organized a large meeting with all the workers and managers. Obinna stood in front of everyone. "Today I want to speak about something important," he said. The room became quiet. This company was built by our father through discipline, honesty, and hard work. Everyone listened carefully. Obinna continued. "From today, I want this company to always follow those same values." Then he turned to Samuel. "And I want my brother to stand with me in leading it." The workers began clapping. Samuel felt overwhelmed. He never expected such acceptance after everything he had done. Later that night, the two brothers visited their father's grave together. They stood quietly for several minutes. Samuel finally spoke. "Father wanted us to be better men." Obinna nodded. "Yes." Samuel looked at the grave and said softly, "I am still learning." Obinna placed a hand on his shoulder. "That is what life is for." The wind moved gently through the trees as the two brothers stood side by side. The conflict that once destroyed their family had finally been replaced with understanding and growth. Samuel had lost many things because of his greed. But through hard lessons, he had gained something much more valuable. A second chance. And this time, he would not waste it. Life proves that a mistake does not define a person, but refusing to change does. When someone accepts their wrong actions and works hard to improve, they can slowly rebuild trust and respect. Another wise saying tells us, a tree that bends during the storm survives longer than the tree that refuses to change. Samuel finally humbled himself, worked hard, and began to rebuild his life through responsibility and honesty. This story teaches us a powerful truth: jealousy destroys, greed blinds, pride divides, but humility heals, forgiveness restores, and hard work rebuilds. At the end of life, people will not remember how much money you had or how many luxuries you enjoyed. They will remember your kindness, your character, and the lives you helped improve. True wealth is not money or power. True wealth is a good heart, a clear conscience, and the courage to become a better person. As the wise often say, a man who conquers the world is powerful, but a man who conquers himself is truly great. If this story adds value to you, please do well to give me a like, share, and comment on the video to share your thoughts. Most importantly, please support me by subscribing to this channel, turn on the notification button and follow for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.